Will you still need me? Will you still feed me when I'm 64?
No copyright intended.
Yes, 64 whole episodes of Easy Like a Sunday Morn. Hello and welcome to the show. My name is Shane, and today is the 25th of June 2017. Some of you have asked me what the theme for this show is, what its niche is. And it's one of those questions that podcasts actually struggle with unless you have a particular narrowed down idea of what your particular podcast is about, whether it's to do with knitting or geocaching or some mundane thing, or you are strictly an entertainment celebrity-based podcast, or you're in D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy role-playing kind of podcast where you tell stories and whatnot. Those sorts of things are very, very nichey and have like a theme behind it. What I'd like to think of this show as, in talking to fans of the show and discussing ideas, I'd like to think of this show as a personal day in a podcast. By personal day, I mean a day that you have off work to clear your mind. I'd like to think of it as a mental health half hour where you can distance yourself and your mind, distance your mind from the everyday information overload and start your week again refreshed and renewed. So why not sit in your favorite chair? It's an armchair, a couch, sofa, lounge with your favorite beverage or two. Or maybe you're sitting in bed with your cushions propping you up and you're trying to get some sleep. Breathe in through the nose, breathe in very deeply, keep going, and breathe out through the mouth. Keep doing that a few times while listening to the sound of my voice for the next 30 minutes and you will drift off. Let go of all the animosity, all the outrage, all the stuff that's going on, atrocities, attacks on various buildings and things like that, tragedies are happening. You cannot control these events. And it's frustrating and it's scary and it makes you very, very angry, right? But just for the next 30 minutes, let go of everything. Let go of political views, religious views, who you think you need to be. Let go of your job for the next 30 minutes. Let go of what you've had to do for the last week, right? Let go of last night. Let go of it all. Forget what you've got to do for the rest of the week for the time being, unless you are planning using this time to actually plan the rest of your week. You can do that. But find that tranquility, find that space, tune out everything. And then if you're sitting at a kitchen table with a notepad, take notes. If you are sitting at a couch drinking your favorite beverage, then just zone out, right? Just relax for 30 minutes and then maybe focus on what the stuff that you need to do Sunday afternoon, okay? Easy stuff. Take it easy like a Sunday morn, right? On a Sunday morning, there's very little traffic on the roads. Most people are recovering from the weekend, okay? Encapsulate that, embrace that, absorb that mentality, and then bring it forward into Monday morning and then through to the rest of the week. I say this every episode, but it's a great thing to do. What I'm going to be talking about today are a whole series of topics, but before I get there, I have to do a little bit of housekeeping. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge a good friend of mine, Jeff Ager, and I wish to Wish him a rest in peace, the late Jeff Ager. I'm not going to pronounce his surname properly. It's Ager, Ager. Um, Jeff was a guy that I mentioned a few times on this podcast. He used to volunteer at Fred's Van, which is a local soup kitchen that I have frequented in the past. He suffered from bowel cancer and pancreatic cancer, and he was undergoing chemotherapy and things like that. He he was starting to become good. He was going into remission. And then he had a stroke, which sort of set him back and things like that. And he ended up dying as a result of the complications from the stroke rather than from cancer. So he passed away on the 18th of June 2017. He was a very, very good friend, and I attended his funeral. He helped me when things were rough, and even when I moved on from the soup kitchen scene, I would still go back and check in on him because I knew he would worry about me because he knew that I had suffered from depression and various other mental illnesses. And I would try and stay away from the soup kitchens. There's a mentality there that I don't like. There's an us and them from the staff and the people that go there. It's not very inclusive in that sort of sense. It's us versus them. Oh, they're soup kitchen people. And this is very degrading. But he was never like that. And he saw everybody had potential, and he encouraged me to go to university, and I went to university and I graduated. There's so much stuff. He turned me around on a lot of things, and I let go of a lot of ideas that were holding me back. And I try and incorporate and promote that with this podcast as well. You can do a lot of stuff. That's why you sit back and you relax a bit, clear your mind. Okay, now what can I do today to make my life 10 times better tomorrow? Those sorts of things, right? But without without pulling the wool over your eyes, without motivating you, without being all Tony Robbins and all that sort of stuff. And in my personal opinion, I think he's a charlatan, but he's pulled the wool over a lot of people. So, and he'd have more expensive lawyers than I could ever afford. So I have to be very, very careful with that. But Jeff was a brilliant person, and he was survived by, I think, eight children. His wife, his second wife, and his funeral actually hit me pretty hard. But I've come to terms with it. You try to move on. You try not to think of him in negative ways. And he didn't want people to mourn him. He wanted people to actually embrace life. He was a very funny person. We used to conversate for hours when he would drive me up to Gawler to do the soup kitchen up there and things like that. So, good night, Jeff. Speaking of Fred's Van, the mobile soup kitchen has moved to the 1225 building where the 5PBA FM community radio station is, and it's now an indoor venue with tabled seating. They moved there on the 4th of June, and so far everybody seems happy with the arrangement. There are different groups that go there, so come on in out of the cold and have a free meal if you feel the need for it. All are welcome. Also, speaking of Fred's Van, today I actually was asked if I wanted to volunteer, and I've decided to accept. I mean, I've been going there for years anyway. I was unofficial security and would just calm things down, make sure things didn't get out of hand and whatnot. So a lot of it's all just going to be stacking chairs and tables and whatnot. But it's something I can put on my resume finally. Another passing of a really good influence in my life was Adam West. Rest in peace, Batman, 1966 Batman. He starred in the TV series and the self-titled movie. He will be sorely missed. Tributes from all over the world have flooded the internet. But one image that stuck with me was the one with a bust of William Shakespeare on the desk, and under a bell jar was the red bat phone flashing and beeping forever, never to be answered again. On to some more positive news. This weekend showed one of the best episodes of Doctor Who that I've seen in a long time. This particular episode is a two-parter. It's the first one. It's a two-part episode. The first one was called The World Enough and Time, and next week's one will be The Doctor Falls, and I think it will show the regeneration of this incarnation of the Doctor. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Doctor Who, a regeneration is basically their cheap way of allowing a new actor or actress. I don't think the word actress is politically correct anymore, but an actor of any gender to play the Doctor, the new Doctor Who. Because he's an alien, regeneration is what his race can do. It basically renews every cell in his body, and he just gets like a whole new body, and you get a different actor playing the part. And yeah, that should be very, very interesting. But this particular episode reintroduces villains, and they are played extremely well. And there's a plot twist that is quite incredible. This episode was called A World Enough and Time. Next week's will be The Fall of the Doctor. So I'm looking forward to next week to round that off. And these two episodes lead into the Christmas special. So it should be very good. I know that Peter Capaldi has filmed the Christmas special, or they're filming the Christmas special now. So that means that they will have to find the actor who will play the next Doctor. So all the speculation will begin, and it will be interesting to find out who it actually is. Normally they have like a big reveal event as to who the actor is. There's a lot of stuff that has already gotten spoiled and things like that, but you never know. Let's see what else. I've been playing quite a few video games lately, and for those of you who like video games, this is going to be right up your alley. I've been playing a lot of No Man's Sky. Now, I did a podcast where I talked about No Man's Sky in August of last year, and I've made my way to the center of the second galaxy called Hilbert Dimension. For those of you who are following along in the game, I like finding other people's discoveries. Like you can discover like a system and flash up on the galactic map that tells you that other people have played in that area. Now the game is not really a multiplayer game, but you can see what other people have been. Then what you do is you talk to those, you find those people on like a PlayStation network, and you say, "Hey, I found your base. No, I found your discovery." And they say, "Oh yeah, well that's one of my discoveries. I've got a base at this location," and then you will help. Then they can help you find their base. And I've done this a few times. I've recorded video through the PlayStation of me finding their bases, then jumping up and down on their beds and things like that. and then put that video to YouTube, and then I send the link. So it's as close as you can get to griefing or causing grief within the game and annoying other players. But it's a bit of fun. I like it. Excuse me, the cough. I've done too much editing as it is. I'm not going to edit that out. And here's where it gets interesting. With a bit of intrigue, Hello Games, the game, have decided to start a viral marketing campaign loosely titled Waking. Today is not my day. Waking Titan. And what they did was they sent 16 cassette tapes, one each, to 15 moderators of the No Man's Sky Reddit page. And each cassette had, obviously, side A, side B. And you had people scrambling to find cassette tape players. It was really funny because it's a defunct technology and you have to have an old stereo to even be able to play them anymore. Now, side A had the No Man's Sky soundtrack from a band called 65 Days of Static. It's the number 65 and then Days, DAYSOF, STATIC as one word. 65 Days of Static as one word, and played the music. The music's very ambient. There should be on YouTube somewhere. It's very relaxing, very mellowing. It's the kind of music that I would have on this podcast if I had time to edit properly. And what else? On side B, there were random audio noises. So they ran the audio through a spectrograph analyzer, and it revealed a number, several digit numbers, and they decrypted those numbers using some sort of code. Then they converted that code, it was hexadecimal code, from hexadecimal to English text to reveal the word portal, Portal, and those people, for those of you who play the game, you'll know that portals did not work. There are these massive monoliths with a hole in the middle of them, and in the E3 trailers, these portals were supposed to teleport you to other areas of the game. Now, since then, they've added actual physical teleporters to the game, but they haven't fixed the portals. So the speculation is that they will fix the portals with this update. But they're going to make a massive, massive update. And there's lots of speculation, and this is sort of fueling it, and they're doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things, right? If you go to if you go to wakingtitan.com, that's WAKINGTITAN.com, you can play, insert clues and things. There's a wiki page for it that's got all the clues already. Personally, I can't wait for the next update. Please excuse me, my throat's getting loose. I finished Deus Ex Mankind Divided. The ending to that was very lackluster, but it was a very cool game. You are an augmented human, so you have all sorts of... It's a first-person shooter kind of game. You have all sort of augmentations to your body, so you can see through walls and do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. It's a very interesting game. I've seen it for $20 at Big W. You may find it cheaper where you are. I've also been playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and I got up to a point where you have to kill an end of level big boss, and I've paused it there before I move on to something else. And I will go back to it eventually and play and complete it once I figure out how to get past the big bad. There are 2 Sherlock Holmes games for the PS4. I can't remember the name of the first one, but the second one's called The Devil's Daughter, and it's quite interesting. There's a very long plot to it, and it's several short Sherlock Holmes stories under an overarching, or cases, you should say, several short cases for Sherlock Holmes to solve while dealing with an overarching plot. It's quite interesting, and the reveal of who the villain happened to be was actually quite, and it was probably not who you think it will be. And I'm thinking, oh wow, I didn't know it would be that character. Very, very excellent reveal. What else have I done? That's all for video games. In fact, I might leave the podcast here a little bit early, but I hope that you have chosen to take today, the rest of today, and the rest of the week easy. Go and see Wonder Woman. It's a fantastic film. Avoid seeing the Transformers film. It got 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. The secret code word is Titan. It's Titan. Please leave it in the comments down below from wherever you are listening to this, and that lets me know that you listened to this episode for that long, and I will catch up with you again next time. That's all for me today. Look after yourselves for now.